transitions controls how the slides change between, so how slide 2 becomes slide 3. Another option within it is animation, and this is where I can animate the individual elements on my page. It can be a little bit fiddly, and it can actually make your slide look really messy, but then when it presents, it can be really effective and save you using multiple slides. So it's important to realize how many elements I've got here to begin with. I've got Moana in the corner. I've got the text, title, and Maui. They're two elements, but they've been grouped together. If I ever wanted to change that, I could just ungroup them. But they've been grouped together. So for the purpose of animation, they behave as one object. And the same for the chicken and the speech bubble saying Plock. He behaves as one object. So actually on my screen, I've only got 3 elements at the moment. So all I need to do is I need to choose which one I want to animate first. So I'm going to go to Moana. I'm going to right click on her. I can tell that she's selected, and because she's got a blue outline, and one of the options here is animate, and it brings up the little animate icon. When I click on that, it'll open the animation pane in the right hand side. It calls it motion because it covers transition and object animation. So I'm going to ignore the slide transition and focus on object animations. Now you see I've got a little thumbnail of her, and I've got a summary of what she's going to do. This is collapsible, and that'll become more useful later on because the editing section is here. There's always a little dustbin icon next to her where I can delete. That will not delete her, it will just delete the animation effect I've assigned to her. So the first line tells us how do you want her to appear or disappear. So I think I would like her, since she's on the left-hand side of my screen, I'd like her to fly in from the left. And then your trigger event, it's a bit like coding here, as your condition, is on click. So when this slide is clicked, she will slide in, or when you press a clicker. Your other options are after and with previous. They come in more in handy with later items in a list. So I'm going to tab it on click. I can control the speed, but generally it sets it something that will work quite nicely. So that is now set up so that Moana, when I click, she will not be there. When I click, she will fly in from the left. So I'm going to animate another item, and I'm going to animate these two here. So I just need to click on one of them because they're a group. And notice as soon as I do that, Moana has collapsed. I've lost all the editing options for her because I'm not dealing with her anymore. But I've got this item here where I can add an animation. So I'm going to add an animation for the things I've got selected at the moment. So add an animation for this group. And again, it's the same process. Now this time, I want them to fly in from the top. I don't want them to do it on click, because if I just close this and minimize it for a second, you'll see the process I would have then is that I would have a blank page and she would fly in from the left when I clicked. And then when I clicked again, these two would fly in from the top. What I want to happen is I want to minimize how many times I click. So I want them to happen after previous. With previous means they'd fly in at the same time, even though they're below each other in the order of precedent. But after previous works quite nicely, so that what will happen is she'll fly in from the left, and as soon as she's arrived and finished her animation, he'll fly in from the top. The chicken will stay on the screen at all times because I haven't got any animation assigned to him. So according to this, reading through the process, I should have blank screen, and then when I click the mouse, she will fly in from the left. Then the minute she's flown in, he will fly down from the top. I can test it without going into full presenter mode by just pressing play. It takes a couple of seconds to load up, as I get to view it on this screen rather than going full screen with it. So I can have a look, and as you watch at the same time, down here will be a little marker showing where I'm up to in the animation, so I can see what's happening, which is really good for working out what's gone wrong. So hitting play. Let's think about it. It loads up. And here he is. I've got my chicken because he's got no animation attached to him. So now I'm ready. I'm going to click once. She's flown in from the left, and then he slid down from the top afterwards. Brilliant. I've got exactly what I want to. Brilliant. So I'll stop that. And that's worked quite nicely. However, I want to add something a little bit fancier to this. I want to make a little bit of a cheap joke. I'm going to have her say, I am, and then have Moana slide down from the top and lose that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a call out, and I'm going to put a speech bubble, and I'm going to put a speech bubble above her head, and I'm going to have it saying, I am. So, I am, ... Now I want to make that nice and big, so let's make it into Comic Sans. Let's make it size 36, and put it in the middle. So she's going to say, I am. Now, that's an object that I can animate in its own right. So if I click Add Animation, I want this to disappear. So I want it to disappear before Maui appears. So rather than fade in, I want it to fade out or disappear. So it's going to start on the screen and then vanish. So I'm going to drag this one up a little bit as well. So now I've got a sequence where when I click mouse, she'll fly in from the left, and then if I click again, that will disappear. Now it's going to be a bit strange because it's going to start off on the screen with the speech bubble, which will be a little bit unusual, but I can work with it. It's just demonstrating the process. And then that will vanish and Moana will appear over the top. That should work quite nicely. It looks a mess at the moment, but when I animate it, I'll get a slightly better effect. So I've got I am. When I click, she'll slide in. And if I click again, vanishes and Moana slides down from the top. So that works quite nicely. I can play with that a bit more and fiddle with the finer settings of it. What I could do is I could have it animate this object twice and have it slide in with her. So I'll click on it again. And I'm adding another animation to it. So I've got the same speech bubble animated twice now. And I'm going to have it appear or fade in on click. So let's drag it up. So now my sequence is I've got when I click, she'll appear. When I click again, her speech bubble will appear. When I click again, her speech bubble will disappear and Maui will fly in from the top. It looks a mess on my page, but now I've still got the chicken there because he's got no animation attached to him. When I click once, she appears. I click twice, we've had it fade in. I click a third time, it'll disappear, and at the same time, Moana comes down from the top. That is how I can start using animation to start building quite complicated animated slides. Think about the order it works its way down from the top. Think about the command you're using to execute. So after previous, I could have this one to improve this further. I could have this one, instead of fading in on click, I could have it fading in with previous. So I'm using all the commands there. So if I just collapse that, I can read through it. When I click, Moana will fly in from the left, and at the same time, her speech bubble will fade in. Then when I click again, her speech bubble will disappear, and then he will fly in from the top. And then just to finish with, I might have the chicken. I might have him, it says fade in by default. Let's have him zoom in. So let's test it out this time. This time I should start with a completely blank page because I've finally done something to the chicken. Right. So I click once and Moana will fly in. At the same time, her speech bubble has appeared. I could adjust the speed of that to slow it down if I really wanted to. When I click again, that should vanish and he'll fly in from the top with the word. That's worked nicely. Again, I could mess around with the speed. And then finally, with a final click, I get the chicken appear from blank. So that is putting together a full animated slide. There are other ways of doing it. I could do it almost stop motion style and have 5, 6, 7, 8 slides with each one appearing. So have her just on the first slide. Second slide, have her speech bubble appear next to her. Third slide, have the speech bubble vanish and disappear. Fourth slide, have him appear. It just keeps the slideshow a little bit shorter, a little bit tidier, and you can build some really, really fancy effects. Just be aware, if you're not going into presenter mode, this slide looks a little bit messy. So if you're going to present people using this method, make sure you're not trying to present with this screen up. You should be going to the presenter screen. Little tiny thing just to be aware of, because at the moment that looks like it's been a mess of formatting, but it's the overall result that you're looking at.